They say returning to your roots brings peace, a sense of security wrapped in nostalgia. But for me, stepping back into my mom's house at 29, jobless, heartbroken, and utterly defeated, felt like admitting total failure. My engagement had crumbled just a month earlier, shattered by betrayal that left me reeling. My rental contract had expired, and my bank account was a pathetic shadow of what it once was. So there I was, hauling my battered suitcases into the spare room of my childhood home, where the walls still echoed with memories of awkward teenage years, posters of rock bands peeling at the edges, a bookshelf crammed with dog-eared novels, and a faint whiff of vanilla from the candles Mom used to burn. What blindsided me was her. The sound of the bathwater draining echoed through the hallway as I stirred awake that first morning. I assumed it was Mom, up early as always. Groggy and disheveled, I shuffled to the kitchen in nothing but my boxers, rubbing sleep from my eyes, desperate for a caffeine fix. The coffee maker gurgled to life under my hands, filling the air with that rich, grounding aroma. Then the bathroom door creaked open behind me. I spun around and time seemed to freeze. Lila, my mom's closest friend. A towel wrapped loosely around her body, her dark hair damp and cascading over her shoulders, beads of water glistening on her smooth-toned skin like morning dew on leaves. She halted mid-step, her green eyes widening slightly in surprise. "Oh," she murmured, her voice soft and composed, laced with a hint of amusement. "I didn't realize you were awake already, Alex." Words escaped me. My throat tightened, mouth parched as if I'd swallowed sand. I managed a dumb nod, my gaze betraying me as it lingered on the way the towel hugged her curves, accentuating the subtle tattoos peeking out along her collarbone, a delicate vine of flowers that I vaguely remembered from years ago. But now they seemed more vivid, more alluring. She was nothing like the Lila from my past. It had been at least 7 years since I'd seen her properly. Not since my early 20s when she was just Aunt Lila, the vibrant woman with the infectious laugh who brought homemade pies to family gatherings and teased me about my messy hair. Back then, she was a comforting presence, almost maternal in her affection. Now? Now she embodied seduction, wrapped in terry cloth, exuding a confidence that made my pulse race. A small smile tugged at her lips as she sauntered into the kitchen, brushing past me with effortless grace, as if she weren't half naked in front of her best friend's son. "That coffee smells divine," she said, reaching for a cup from the cabinet, her arm stretching just enough to make the towel shift precariously. "You still prefer it with a splash of cream, right?" I blinked, stunned. She remembered. She pivoted to face me, leaning back against the counter, taking a slow sip from her mug. Her eyes locked onto mine, unwavering, piercing. "What, you think I've forgotten all the little details about you, Alex?" The words hung in the air, innocent on the surface, but they twisted something deep in my gut, sending an unwelcome warmth spreading through me. I averted my gaze, fumbling with the sugar jar to hide my flush. She let out a soft chuckle, the sound rich and knowing. "You all right there?" "Yeah, fine," I muttered, a blatant lie. But the reality? I was far from fine. Because my mom's best friend had just emerged from the bath looking like a vision from dreams I'd never admitted to having. And I couldn't tear my eyes away from the way the towel clung to her hips, hinting at the form beneath. She stepped closer, the steam from her skin carrying a faint floral scent, jasmine, mixed with something earthy and intoxicating that made my head spin. This couldn't be real. I wasn't meant to see her this way. She was forbidden territory, a line I knew better than to cross. Yet, the way her gaze lingered, tracing over my bare chest a beat too long, the subtle curve of her lips as I nearly spilled the coffee, the proximity that felt charged, intentional. It didn't scream off limits. It whispered irresistible risk. When her hand grazed mine while passing the creamer, a spark ignited. Electric. Undeniable. Desire surged, hot and unbidden, the first real fire I'd felt since the wreckage of my failed relationship. We ended up at the breakfast nook, her towel still precariously draped as she explained her presence. She was staying for a couple of months. Her apartment was undergoing major repairs after a flood, and Mom had insisted she crash here in the guest suite. Naturally, the universe had a twisted sense of humor, trapping me under the same roof with this woman at my lowest point. "I've always loved this house," she said, glancing around the sunlit kitchen with a fond smile. "So many good times here." I nodded, nursing my coffee, willing my heart to steady its frantic beat. She studied me intently. "You've grown up a lot," she observed after a pause. "In a good way or bad?" Her tone was playful, but the depth in her voice, the subtle suggestion, stirred an ache I hadn't anticipated. She rose then, arching her back in a languid stretch, arms extended overhead, the towel inching down just enough to reveal a sliver more of her thigh. My breath caught, the world narrowing to that moment. She caught my eye and winked, playful yet loaded. "Catch you later, Alex." With that, she glided away, leaving behind a trail of warmth and an undercurrent of peril that hummed in my veins. My body craved what it shouldn't, her poise, her ink, her everything. But pursuing it? That was madness, wasn't it? I swore I'd steer clear. Chalked it up to shock, to the vulnerability of my situation. She was just a woman after all. Attractive, sure, but nothing I couldn't ignore. I chanted that mantra through the day, burying myself in unpacking and job applications. But fate, or whatever cruel force was at play, had other plans. That afternoon, I ventured downstairs for a snack. Clad in loose joggers and a faded tee, only to find her in the den, lounging on the couch with a book, her legs tucked beneath her in yoga pants that hugged every curve, a tank top that left little to the imagination. She looked up, her eyes sparkling. "Hey, stranger. Settling in okay?" I mumbled something affirmative, rooting through the fridge to avoid her gaze. But she wasn't done. "Your mom mentioned you're going through a rough patch. If you need to talk." Her voice trailed off, genuine concern mixing with something warmer. We ended up chatting about my ex, the mess of it all. She listened, her hand occasionally brushing my arm in comfort, each touch lingering. By evening, the tension had built, unspoken but palpable. I retreated to my room, but sleep evaded me, thoughts of her invading every corner of my mind. The next day brought more encounters. I bumped into her in the hallway, fresh from a run, her skin flushed and glistening with sweat, sports bra and shorts clinging to her form. "Morning workout?" she asked, breathless, her proximity making the air thick. I nodded, words failing again as I caught the scent of her, salt and that same jasmine. She smiled, wiping her brow. "You should join me sometime. Could be fun." I declined politely, but inside, the invitation gnawed at me. That night, unable to sleep, I wandered to the kitchen for water. The house was dim, save for the soft glow from the living room. There she was on a yoga mat, flowing through poses in the moonlight filtering through the windows. Shirtless, her back to me at first, the intricate tattoo along her spine, a phoenix rising, flexing with each movement. She twisted into a downward dog, her body a symphony of grace and strength, muscles shifting under silken skin. She sensed me, glancing over her shoulder with a grin. "Couldn't sleep either? Come on, don't just stand there. Join in if you want." I hesitated, but something pulled me forward. "It's your space," I said, voice rough. She laughed lightly, the sound echoing softly. Plenty of room for two. What started as awkward imitation turned into something else. Her guidance was hands-on, fingers adjusting my posture, trailing lightly down my back. "Relax into it," she whispered, her breath warm against my ear. The contact sent shivers racing through me. As we moved, our bodies brushed, innocent at first, then deliberate. A hip graze here, a lingering hold there. By the end, sweat slicked and breathing heavy, the air crackled with unspoken want. She rolled up her mat, turning to me with eyes darkened by the low light. "That wasn't so bad, was it?" Her voice was husky, inviting. I shook my head, stepping closer despite myself. "No," I admitted, "it wasn't." Her hand found my chest, palm flat against my racing heart. "Alex, we shouldn't." she murmured, even as her fingers curled into my shirt. But we did. The kiss was inevitable, a collision of pent-up tension. Her lips were soft yet demanding, tasting of mint and desire. Hands explored, mine tracing the lines of her tattoos, hers pulling me nearer. We tumbled onto the couch, towels and inhibitions forgotten, the house silent around us as we gave in to the forbidden spark. In the days that followed, the secrecy added fuel. Stolen moments in the garage, whispered conversations that led to heated embraces. She was staying longer now, renovations delayed. Conveniently, or so it seemed. My mom noticed nothing or chose not to. But the risk thrilled us, the danger intoxicating. Lila became my escape, my anchor in the storm of my life. And as weeks stretched, what began as lust deepened into something more. Complicated, yes, but undeniably real. Yet doubts crept in. Was this just rebound? A way to numb the pain? Or had fate truly conspired to bring us together? One evening, as we lay tangled in the guest room sheets, her head on my chest, she sighed. "We have to tell your mom eventually." I tensed, reality crashing down. But looking into reality crashing down. But looking into her eyes, feeling the warmth of her against me, I knew I couldn't walk away. Not from this. Not from her. The home that once felt like surrender now pulsed with possibility, and a love born from the ashes of what was. I never expected a summer visit to my family's lake house to turn into this, a slow-burning tension that had me questioning everything I thought I knew about myself. My name's Ryan, and at 22 I was home from college trying to unwind before diving back into the grind. But then my dad invited his old college buddy Marcus to crash with us for a couple of weeks. Marcus was the kind of guy who turned heads without trying. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a chiseled jaw and eyes that could pin you in place. He'd always been around growing up, the cool uncle type who'd toss a football or grill burgers at family barbecues. But now he was different. Or maybe I was. Either way, the air between us crackled like a storm about to break. It started innocently enough. One evening, after my dad had crashed early from a long day fishing, I wandered into the living room to grab a drink. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that amplifies every little sound. The creak of floorboards, the distant hum of crickets outside. That's when I saw him. Marcus, shirtless on a yoga mat in the dim glow of a single lamp. His muscles flexed with every pose, sweat glistening on his tanned skin like he'd been at it for hours. Those black athletic shorts clung to him in all the right ways, riding low enough to expose that sharp V-line that disappeared below the waistband. It was hypnotic. I stood there in the doorway, frozen, watching longer than I should have. My eyes traced the lines of his back, the way his biceps strained as he held a downward dog. When I finally snapped out of it and looked up, his eyes were already on me through the reflection in the window. He didn't flinch, didn't grin like he'd caught me in something embarrassing. He just held my stare, steady and unyielding, like he was inviting me to admit what was running through my head. My stomach flipped. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked, his voice low and smooth, not breaking the pose. I swallowed hard, trying to play it cool. "Yeah, something like that. What about you? Yoga at midnight?" He straightened up slowly, wiping sweat from his brow with the back of his hand. "Helps clear the mind. You should try it sometime." He patted the mat next to him. "Join me!" My mouth went dry. I hadn't done yoga since high school gym class, and even then, I was terrible. "Nah, I'm good. I'd probably pull something." Marcus tilted his head, those dark eyes scanning me from head to toe. "Come on, Ryan, you're young, flexible. It'll be fun." There was something in the way he said flexible, a subtle edge that sent a jolt through me. This wasn't just casual banter anymore. I hesitated, but curiosity, or maybe something deeper, won out. I stepped onto the mat sitting cross-legged beside him, feeling awkward in my loose tank and shorts. As we started a simple stretch, my arm grazed his. Then my knee bumped his thigh. His skin was warm, radiating heat that made my pulse quicken. You're tensing up, he murmured, glancing sideways at me. Relax, breathe. I tried, but every accidental touch felt electric. I guess I'm not used to this, he chuckled softly. To yoga or to someone getting this close? Our eyes met and the air thickened. Before I could respond, he reached over, his hand lightly adjusting my posture, fingers trailing along my shoulder, then down to my lower back. Here, he said, his palm pressing firmly but gently. Arch into it. Let go. That touch ignited something in me. Sparks raced up my spine, and I could barely breathe. His hand lingered, warm and commanding, and I didn't pull away. Our faces were inches apart now. I could smell the faint scent of his cologne mixed with sweat. Woodsy, masculine, intoxicating. His eyes darkened like he was fighting some internal battle. Then his fingers dipped just a fraction lower, testing the waters. I should probably head to bed, I whispered, my voice shaky. His gaze didn't waver. Should you? The question hung there, loaded with implication. I stood up abruptly, heart racing like I'd run a marathon. I made it to the stairs before he called out, Ryan! I paused, not turning fully. Yeah? I've noticed the way you've been looking at me lately. His tone was even, but it carried weight. Not that it's a problem, just... I see it, heat flooded my face. I mumbled something about seeing him tomorrow and bolted upstairs. That night, sleep was impossible. My mind replayed every moment. His hand on my back, the intensity in his eyes, the unspoken promise. Marcus, my dad's best friend, the guy who'd taught me how to tie a fishing knot when I was 10. But now, he was seeing me as an adult, and the thought both terrified and thrilled me. The next morning, I dragged myself downstairs, still in a fog. I hadn't bothered with a shirt, just my sleep shorts clinging to my skin in the humid summer air. The kitchen smelled like fresh coffee, and there he was, Marcus, leaning against the counter in nothing but navy joggers that hung low on his hips, outlining everything. He sipped his mug, eyeing me over the rim. Rough night? I rubbed my eyes, avoiding his gaze. Couldn't sleep, you? Same here. He set the mug down, his eyes drifting down my body deliberately. You always wander around like that in the morning? I glanced down. My shorts were riding up, no underwear, everything a bit too exposed. My cheeks burned. Didn't think anyone was up. I'll grab something. As I turned toward the fridge, he moved behind me, his presence like a shadow. His chest brushed my back, sending shivers down my spine. Some things are hard to ignore, Ryan, he said, his breath warm against my ear. I froze. Was he talking about my outfit? Or the obvious tension between us? I turned slowly, and he was right there, too close, his broad frame towering over me. That look again, piercing, like he could see straight into my soul. You've been staring at me like you want something, he continued, voice dropping to a rumble. But you haven't said it out loud. My lips parted, but words failed me. The air hummed with electricity. What if I do want something? He leaned in closer, his mouth hovering near mine, eyes tracing my bare chest, the curve of my hips. Then you'd better be damn sure. Because once we start, I don't hold back. I give everything. My knees weakened. I'd never felt this kind of pull before, not with anyone. I've never done this. With a guy like you? A flicker of softness crossed his face. Then let me guide you. Show you what you've been missing. He reached out, his fingers grazing my collarbone, trailing down my chest slowly, like he was savoring every inch. I shivered under his touch. Then he closed the gap, our bodies pressing together, and I felt him, hard, imposing, more than I anticipated. His voice turned husky. You think you can handle all of this? It might be too much at first. I met his eyes, a mix of nerves and desire surging through me. Try me. We didn't kiss right then. Instead, he pulled back just enough to let the moment simmer, his hand still on my hip. Tonight, he said finally. My door will be ajar. If you come in, that's your choice. No turning back. He stepped away, grabbing his coffee like the world hadn't just shifted, and headed out to the deck. But for me, everything had changed. The rest of the day was torture. I tried to distract myself, swimming in the lake, fixing up the boat dock, even blasting music in my room. My dad was out running errands, oblivious to the storm brewing under his roof. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Marcus's voice, felt the ghost of his touch. Was this wrong? He was twice my age, my dad's closest friend, but the forbidden edge only made it hotter. As the sun set, painting the lake in oranges and pinks, I paced my room. The house grew quiet, the only sounds the lapping water outside and the faint creak of settling wood. By 11 p.m., I'd convinced myself I wouldn't go, but my body betrayed me, heart pounding, skin flushed. I slipped out in just my shorts, padding down the hall barefoot. His door was cracked open, soft light spilling into the darkness. I pushed it wider. Marcus was there, lounging on the bed in low-slung boxers, reading a book. He looked up, setting it aside without a word. His body was a masterpiece. Defined abs, powerful thighs, the kind of build that came from years of discipline. He stood, crossing the room in 2 strides. The door clicked shut behind me. Locked. You came, he said, his voice a low rumble that vibrated through me. I nodded, throat tight. I don't know what I'm doing here. He closed the distance, his hands finding my waist. That's fine. Tonight you don't have to do anything but feel. He backed me against the door, his body heat enveloping me. His lips brushed my ear. I've seen that hunger in your eyes since day one. You've been holding back, but not anymore. His hands roamed, up my sides, across my back, pulling me flush against him. I gasped as I felt his arousal pressing into me, thick and insistent. God, Marcus, I don't know if I can... You can, he assured, his mouth trailing kisses along my jaw. We'll go slow. I'll make sure you're ready for every bit of it. I turned my face and our lips met. Finally, the kiss was fire, deep, consuming, his tongue exploring mine with expert control. He tasted like mint and desire, his stubble scraping my skin in the best way. His hand slipped under my shorts, cupping me, teasing until I was aching. He broke the kiss, eyes locked on mine. Get on the bed, I obeyed, heart thundering. He followed, hovering over me, his weight a comforting pressure. Let me worship you, he whispered, kissing down my neck, chest, stomach. His touch was everywhere, fingers, lips, tongue, mapping my body like it was his to claim. As he peeled off my shorts, exposing me completely, he paused, admiring. Beautiful, he murmured. Then he shed his own, revealing himself, impressive, veined, ready. My eyes widened. Marcus, shh, he soothed, settling between my legs. Shh, he soothed, settling between my legs. We'll take it inch by inch. You'll beg for more by the end. He prepped me slowly, patiently, his fingers working magic until I was writhing, moans escaping despite my efforts to stay quiet. When he finally entered me, it was overwhelming, stretch, fullness, pleasure bordering on pain. But he was gentle at first, building rhythm, whispering encouragements. That's it, Ryan, feel me. All of me, the room filled with our sounds, gasps, groans, the creak of the bed. He thrust deeper, harder, his hands gripping my hips. Sweat slicked our skin as we moved together, lost in the intensity. It built to a crescendo, waves of ecstasy crashing over me until I shattered, calling his name. Afterward, we lay tangled, breaths ragged. He pulled me close, kissing my forehead. That was just the beginning, he said softly. If you want more, I did. God, I did. And in that moment, with the lake whispering outside and the world far away, I knew this summer had changed everything. A new rhythm. The air was thick with tension, the kind that made every breath feel like a confession. Lucas moved with a deliberate slowness, his hand steady, his gaze unwavering. Every motion was calculated, deep and maddeningly precise, designed to unravel me completely. My body responded before my mind could catch up, every nerve sparking, every muscle tightening, every heartbeat sinking to the rhythm of his hips. He wasn't rushed. He was relentless, each thrust a promise, each pause a tease that left me trembling, clawing at the sheets, and gasping for more. Tell me, he murmured, his voice low and rough, lips brushing against my ear. Tell me what you need, Noah. My mouth was dry, my thoughts a haze of heat and want. I could barely string words together, but I managed, my voice shaky and desperate. More, I gasped. I need more, Lucas, please. His lips curved into a slow, dangerous smile. Already hooked, aren't you? He whispered, slowing even further, dragging out the torture until I was practically begging. And I'm just getting started. Then he shifted, hitting that spot inside me that made my entire body jolt. A moan tore from my throat, loud and unapologetic, echoing in the quiet room. You feel that? He asked, his voice a low growl. I nodded frantically, my fingers twisting in the sheets. Yes, God, yes. Do it again! And he did. Again and again, each thrust deliberate, each one sending me spiraling further into him. Lucas, I moaned, his name the only thing my mind could hold on to. He leaned closer, his hands finding my wrists, pinning them above my head with a gentle but unyielding grip. His chest pressed against mine, his breath hot against my skin. You sound so damn good when you beg, he said, his voice dark and commanding. And you're taking me so well, Noah, better than I ever dreamed. My eyes widened, dazed and overwhelmed. You dreamed about this? I whispered. His smirk deepened, a glint of something possessive in his eyes. For years, he admitted, his lips grazing mine. The first time I saw you, I knew. But I waited. I waited until you wanted this as much as I did. Those words hit me like a wave, deeper than the physical connection between us. This wasn't just lust, it was something heavier, something that claimed me entirely. He didn't just want me. He needed me. And I needed him too, in a way that scared me as much as it thrilled me. He pulled back for a moment, and I whimpered at the sudden emptiness, my body aching for him. But before I could protest, he gently turned me over, guiding me onto my stomach, his hands pulling my hips up with care. I want to feel you like this, he whispered, his voice thick with desire. I want you to feel every inch of me. When he slid back in, it was deeper, overwhelming, stealing the air from my lungs. I gasped, my voice breaking into a cry. Lucas, oh my God! His hands gripped my waist, steadying me as he rocked into me, the bed creaking under the force of his movements. Each thrust was a pulse, a rhythm that consumed me. I didn't care who heard. I didn't care about anything except him, except this. Say it! He growled, his voice rough with need. Say what? I gasped, barely able to think. Say you're mine, Noah. I hesitated, not because I doubted it, but because the weight of those words felt like a vow. He didn't wait long. Another deep thrust and I was trembling, my resolve crumbling. I'm yours, I moaned, louder than I intended. I'm yours, Lucas, and I meant it. Every word, every syllable, we didn't stop. Not after the first time, not after the second. He made me beg, made me crave him in ways I didn't know were possible. His lips never left me, kissing my neck, my jaw, my lips, like he was claiming every part of me. And I let him. I wanted him to. Hours later, we lay tangled in the sheets, his arm draped across my chest, his breath steady and warm against my skin. My body still hummed, alive with the memory of him. This wasn't just physical. It was surrender. A giving over of myself to something bigger. Something I hadn't expected to find. I don't think I can go back to normal after this, I whispered, my voice raw from the night. Lucas chuckled softly, his lips brushing my temple. Normal was never meant for us, Noah, he said quietly. You were always meant for more. I turned to look at him, his dark eyes holding mine, steady and certain. But there was a flicker of something else in my gaze. Fear, maybe, or uncertainty. What happens now? I asked. With us? Before he could answer, the front door slammed, the sound sharp and jarring. We both froze, my heart lurching into my throat. You said your brother was gone for the weekend, Lucas said, his voice low, urgent. He was, I replied, scrambling to sit up, grabbing for my clothes. He wasn't supposed to be back until tomorrow. Footsteps echoed down the hallway, heavy and fast. Panic surged through me as I yanked the sheets up, my heart pounding. Lucas was already pulling on his jeans, moving quickly but calmly. The bedroom door swung open, and there stood my older brother Ethan, his eyes wide, his jaw tight. He took in the scene. Me, Lucas, the scattered clothes, the tangled sheets, and his expression hardened. "Noah," he said, his voice low and edged with disbelief. "You're sleeping with him? My best friend?" I stood, my legs shaky, my voice caught in my throat. "Ethan, Lucas stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "This wasn't planned, Ethan, but it's real. I care about your brother, more than you know." Ethan's eyes flicked between us, his hands clenching into fists. "You're nearly twice his age, Lucas. You've known him since he was a kid. You're supposed to be like family." "I know," Lucas said, unflinching, "and I'm not that to him anymore. I haven't been for a long time." Ethan's gaze landed on me, sharp and searching. "Is this what you want, Noah?" "Really? Him?" My chest heaved, my emotions raw and exposed. I looked at Lucas, standing there, steady and unapologetic, ready to face anything for me. And I knew. "Yes," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos in my chest. "I want him. This isn't just some fling, Ethan, it's real. He makes me feel seen, wanted, loved." That word, loved, hung in the air, heavy and electric. Ethan blinked, his anger faltering for a moment. He didn't yell. He didn't storm out. He just looked at Lucas, his voice low. "You better not hurt him, ever." Lucas nodded, his eyes never leaving Ethan's. "I won't." Ethan exhaled sharply, then turned and walked out, leaving the door ajar. The silence that followed was heavy, but it wasn't the end. It was a beginning, however messy. Later that night, Lucas and I sat on the back porch, the cool night air wrapping around us. The stars were bright, the world quiet except for the soft hum of crickets. My head rested on his shoulder, his hand warm on my thigh. "You changed me," I said softly, my voice barely above a whisper. "That first moment you touched me, I felt like I belonged somewhere. To someone." Lucas turned to me, his eyes soft but intense. "You don't just belong to me, Noah," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "You're part of me, and I'm part of you." I bit my lip, my heart swelling. "Even with the age difference? Even with people judging us?" He smiled, a quiet, confident smile. "Let them judge. I'll hold your hand through it all." I leaned in, my lips brushing his. "Then hold it forever." And he did. A year later, Lucas and I moved into a small house just outside the city. Ethan came around slowly but surely. It wasn't easy. There were arguments, long talks, and moments of doubt, but he saw how happy I was. How happy we were. Last month, we hosted our first dinner together. Ethan brought a bottle of wine. Lucas cooked pasta from scratch. I set the table and picked the music. Lucas held my hand the entire night, his thumb brushing over my knuckles like a quiet promise. When everyone left, he carried me to bed, just like that first night. Still overwhelming, still making me crave more. Still mine,